What's good, fam? We finally got the truth from the man himself, and it turns out that J. Cole sitting on his porch in Fayetteville was all it took to officially bury whatever was left of Drake's dignity in this Kendrick-Lamar situation. While the boy is out here in 2026 trying to sue his way into a win he couldn't get on the charts, Cole just sat down for a career-defining interview and admitted the whole thing was a sham from his side. Seeing a man reach this level of peace while his former peer is basically crashing out in a courtroom is wild, and we have to talk about how this Fayetteville confession just changed the entire history of the Big Three war. On March 20th, 2026, J. Cole invited Nadeska Alexis back to his childhood home at 2014 Forest Hills Drive for an Apple Music interview that felt more like a therapy session than a press run. He sat there in the same spot where he built his legacy and straight up told the world that his 2024 Kendrick diss track, known as 7 Minute Drill, was the lamest *T he ever did in his life. Cole did not hold back at all when describing how performative and spiritually dishonest that entire moment was for him, and he admitted that he only tried to jab at Kendrick because he felt like he had to keep things friendly for the fans. The problem was that he did not actually have any real animosity toward Lamar, and that created a feeling of darkness inside him that he could not shake off until he walked away from the conflict entirely. Confirming that while Kendrick Lamar was coming with that real West Coast energy and actual smoke, the other side of the supposed Big Three was just playing a character for the cameras makes this admission massive. By speaking his truth, Cole basically exposed the entire 2024 beef as a one-sided victory for Kendrick in terms of authenticity, which makes sense considering Dot was actually trying to dismantle a system while Cole was just trying to stay relevant in a conversation he did not even believe in. Hearing Cole talk about that darkness is a huge reveal because it shows that his spirit was literally rejecting the fake beef energy before the battle even got started. He told Nadeska that he was trying to force a competitive fire that just was not there. And when you look back at the lyrics of that diss track, you can see exactly where the dishonesty was hiding. It was all a hollow exercise in rap athletics for him, while Kendrick was treating it like a holy war for the soul of the culture. By calling his own work the lamest thing he ever did, Cole has effectively stripped away the last bit of mystery regarding why he bowed out so early. He was not scared of the battle in a physical sense, but he was terrified of losing himself to a lie that would have tainted his entire discography if he had kept going. This level of honesty is something we are never going to get from the Canadian side of this rivalry, because acknowledging a lack of authenticity is the one thing Drake's brand cannot survive. Cole also gave us the behind-the-scenes details on that legendary Dreamville festival apology that shifted the entire rap universe back in 2024. He revealed for the first time that the decision to apologize was made just 1 hour before he actually stepped onto that stage, which is a level of last-minute pressure that would have broken most artists. In the days leading up to that moment, he described feeling completely stressed out and carrying a physical heaviness that made it hard for him to even function normally. He was trapped between the expectations of the hip-hop world and the reality of his own conscience, and the weight of that conflict was literally dragging him down into the dirt. The moment the thought of apologizing finally hit him, he said he felt a massive weight lift off his shoulders, and he knew right then that he had to choose his spirit over his ranking as a top seed in the game. Comparing Cole's path to peace with the road Drake has been traveling for the last 2 years is fascinating, because while Cole chose to heal, Drake chose to litigate. While Cole was finding clarity on his porch, Drake had spent his time doubling down on a massive public loss by filing legal paperwork against the Universal Music Group. Cole's move at Dreamville was the ultimate display of maturity because he was willing to look like a loser in the eyes of the internet just to keep his soul intact. That decision left Drake as the only one left standing in a ghost war, fighting against a victory that Kendrick already secured a long time ago. The contrast between these two men could not be any sharper right now, because one of them is comfortable in his childhood home while the other is demanding to see private emails from corporate executives. The heaviness Cole talked about didn't make sense to a lot of people back then, but looking at him now, in 2026, everything finally clicks into place. He was never built for the kind of savage work Kendrick was ready to deliver, and he was smart enough to realize that before he got caught in the crossfire. By stepping back and letting his ranking drop, he found a level of peace that all the streaming numbers in the world could never buy him. Meanwhile, the boy is still out here chasing a crown that got snatched in broad daylight, filing 60-page appeals to try and convince us he didn't actually lose. Cole moved himself out of the line of fire while Drake stayed in the trenches, complaining about the rules only after the bombs had already finished dropping. We are watching two completely different endings for the members of the Big Three, and it is obvious which one of them can actually sleep at night. This shift became impossible to ignore when J. Cole dropped his Bronx Zoo freestyle in January of 2026, because he directly addressed the fallout from his decision. He didn't hide from the fact that his apology kicked him out of the Big Three conversation, and he even admitted he used to see himself at the top. It takes a lot of heart to admit that the fans moved you out of that #1 spot, but Cole seems to value his integrity more than a ranking. He knows the narrative changed the moment he apologized to Kendrick, but he is using all that doubt to fuel his newest run of music. His Birthday Blizzard 26 release cemented his legacy on his own terms, showing he can still out-rap anyone without needing a viral beef to stay relevant. The man is proving that being at your best when people doubt you is a real thing, and he is doing it without the bitterness eating Drake's legacy alive. Seeing Cole accept a lower tier in the public rankings is a wild contrast to the absolute dominance Kendrick Lamar has shown us over these last few years. While Kendrick sits on a throne that nobody can even touch, Cole is comfortable being the respected veteran who chose his own happiness over a forced rivalry. Then you look at Drake, who didn't leave the big three because he wanted to, but because he was pushed out by a series of massive losses. The boy is still trying to tell the world he belongs at the top of a pyramid that already crumbled, while Cole is just happy to be building something new. Cole's peace comes from the fact that he stopped caring about the crown the second he realized it was tied to a performance he didn't believe in. Meanwhile, Drake is still fighting for a title that the culture already took back, proving he cannot handle the reality of his current situation. Before we look at how Cole is exposing the industry legal drama, tell me if y'all think Drake is really delusional for chasing a crown the culture already took back. Let me know in the comments, no cap, and make sure you like and subscribe. Let's continue. The fallout from the Big Three era has revealed some ugly truths about how these guys handle their business, especially when you listen to the subliminal shots lately. During his Golden Goose freestyle, he took a huge jab at the entire industry structure that Drake is currently trying to sue in a courtroom. In those lyrics, Cole rapped about how important it is to own your music, while other artists are out here selling their souls to Lucian Grange for absolute crumbs. This was a direct shot at the messy situation Drake is in right now, considering he is literally suing the company that distributes his music through Republic Records. It is a terrible look for anyone claiming to be a mogul when they are caught in a legal battle with their own bosses over their promotion. Cole owning his masters makes Drake's legal desperation look like a trap he walked into with his eyes wide open, and the difference in their positions is clear. Kendrick and Cole both found their own unique ways to win these industry games, while Drake is still out here trying to prove his own label plotted against him to inflate Kendrick's numbers. That Golden Goose verse really shines a light on the fact that being the biggest star on the planet means nothing if you do not actually own the machine making you famous. Drake is fighting a literal corporate war because he thinks the system turned its back on him. But Cole is reminding the world that real winning is never letting the system own your soul. There is something truly poetic about J. Cole rapping about his freedom and ownership, while Drake is filing massive legal appeals just to keep a dead lawsuit breathing. The entire industry has shifted so much since that 2024 beef, and those recent freestyles from Cole prove he has zero regrets about trading the drama for an independent life. Cole is moving like a phantom in the shadows, while Drake is trapped under a spotlight that only gets hotter and harsher with every new court filing he drops. We have to accept that the Big Three is officially dead, and the way these men are handling the wreckage tells you exactly who actually walked away with the win. Kendrick took the crown and Cole found his peace, but Drake ended up with a massive legal bill and a stack of receipts that he still cannot explain to the fans. It is the ultimate irony that Cole can mention Lucian Grange by name in a verse while Drake is desperately trying to subpoena that man's private email inbox. Cole is operating with real leverage because he no longer needs the corporate machine to validate his talent or his bank account. Drake is out here suing the very machine he thought would protect him from a battle he started, and that just makes him look smaller to the entire hip-hop community. Kendrick Lamar basically dismantled the Big Three so thoroughly that one member retired to a quiet life in North Carolina while the other is stuck in a courtroom making excuses. Cole has exposed the reality that you cannot fight a ghost war forever, and eventually you have to realize the game just moved on without you. It is a crazy time in rap when the guy who apologized actually looks like the biggest winner after the smoke has finally cleared. The contrast is almost impossible to ignore when you see Cole reflecting on his legacy from a porch, while Drake is busy filing a massive 60-page appeal on January 30th, 2026. This is the textbook definition of legal desperation because the boy is trying to revive a lawsuit that the courts already laughed out of the building once before. His legal team is demanding access to private emails from Lucian Grange because they want to prove Universal Music Group intentionally boosted the streams for Not Like Us. It is a wild confession for someone claiming to be the greatest to basically admit that a single song was so successful it actually damaged his entire business. Drake is essentially telling a federal judge that Kendrick Lamar's music is so dangerous that a multi-billion-dollar corporation had to cheat to make it reach #1. This whole situation looks even worse when you remember that Judge Jeanette Vargas already dismissed this entire suit back on October 9, 2025. She did not hesitate when she called the diss track situation a simple war of words and labeled Kendrick's lyrics as nothing more than non-actionable opinion. The judge basically told Drake that getting destroyed in a rap battle is not a legal injury, which is a reality he still cannot seem to accept in 2026. Drake trying to dig into Kendrick Lamar's secret contract details is just a desperate reach by a man who knows he cannot win on the charts or the streets anymore. He is trying to use a judge to accomplish what he could not do with a microphone, and that means finding some kind of dirt to make this loss feel less permanent. It is a nasty look for a man who used to run this entire industry to be reduced to begging a court for discovery documents just to feel like he has leverage left. This whole era we thought would last forever is collapsing right in front of our eyes. Kendrick Lamar did way more than just win a rap beef back in 2024. He actually shattered the whole idea of a big three so completely that nobody can ever put it back together again. J. Cole is over on one side because he chose his own integrity and a quiet life in Fayetteville over holding on to a crown that was never real anyway. Returning to 2014 Forest Hills Drive was his way of showing he has nothing left to prove to the world. Looking at Drake on the other side reveals a man trapped in an endless cycle of lawsuits and corporate fighting because he refuses to admit the culture moved past his sound. Intense pressure from Kendrick forced both of these guys to show who they really are once the fame and the luxury was stripped away. One man chose peace while the other chose litigation, and that is going to be the permanent story of everything that happened in 2024. That 2026 interview with Cole served as the final moment of truth that removed all the mystery about what was happening behind the scenes during the battle. We finally see that Kendrick was the only one in that triangle who was really standing on business and playing for keeps from his very first bar. Cole came clean about just playing a character for the cameras, but Drake is showing us he cannot handle the pressure of that same character being torn apart in public. Now he is out here suing his own bosses at Universal. You have to wonder how long he can keep this up before the industry just stops answering his calls. The crown is gone and the friendships are dead, leaving behind a stack of legal papers that will never change the reality that Dot won the war. Before we discuss this legal appeal, tell me if you think J. Cole was being real when he called his own diss track the lamest *T he ever did. Maybe he is just playing it safe now that Kendrick is the undisputed king. So let me know what you think in the comments. No cap. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel for more of these deep dives while we watch this saga continue to unfold. Actual truth is finally starting to come out, and every new development proves Kendrick Lamar was right about everything from the start. Taking down an entire regime with just a handful of records changed the game forever, and now we are just sitting back and watching where all the pieces finally land.